Hello everybody, we are here with the Season 3 PTS patch notes that includes a whole bunch of information. It includes nerfs on items, it includes nerfs on gods, buffs on stuff, straight new stuff, the new map, the new Joust map, all kinds of crazy stuff. Skins, I don't know if it's going to talk about the skins, but there's new skins and stuff. Absolutely a bunch of crazy stuff. Mercury's going to be completely broken. Don't worry about it. Pick him every game. Ban him every game. God's going to be incredibly broken. Robin is going to be broken because of one of these items that's in the game now. Other than that, we're looking it's going to be crazy. Actives across the board are going to be getting higher cooldowns, and they're not quite as good. So it's going to be like, or they're good, but they're higher cooldowns, basically. They're about the same thing with higher cooldowns, with a few exceptions. Like beads. Beads is rip, dude. They nerfed the crap out of beads. CC is going to be OP. OP. I'm talking like a Ymir, Athena, Hades comp, because CC is super strong. There's a lot of CC reduction items now, but beads suck. So, let's get into this. Got ourselves, whoa, that's cool. That popped up out of nowhere. Hi, little thing. Whoa, look at this little thing. Anyway, that is just nifty, isn't it? Well then, anyway, we got ourselves a new Joust map. A lot of people already know about this. Basically, it is just the old Joust map, but it's not the old Joust map. I take it back. It's not the new map at all. So basically, it's completely redone. It looks completely different. It's by far the most beautiful map. In my opinion, in SMITE. I have gotten to play on it. I played it at Worlds. It's extremely beautiful. It's extremely aesthetically pleasing. There's a couple little changes. There's basically a fire giant buff on the map. And when you kill it, it disables enemy towers for a short time. So people can't turtle forever in the 1v1, 3v3s. That's basically the big change to the Joust. Outside, the map, it's a little bit different. But that's the big change, is there's a way to stop people from turtling for 40 minutes to win the game at the very end. That is going to be the big change for those of you that do 1v1s and 3v3s. That's your big gameplay change on that map. The rest of it is just mostly aesthetic. So that'll be cool. Hey, it is talking about new god skins, so let's get a look at these. We have Shining Heaven Amaterasu. Oh no, I'm in the way. I'm in the way. You're in the way. That's cool. Digging it. Stop staring at... What? Leave her alone. She's in a complete dress garb. You're trying to pop a feel? Get out of there. Rude. Anyway. Ooh! Oh my god, we finally have a good Athena skin? We finally have a cool Athena skin where she looks like a badass. It's about time. The most badass female in SMITE for the longest time. And then Bologna came in. But like the original badass female finally has a cool skin. Yes. And it's got a Medusa symbol on the shield. I'm loving it. Yes. Shout out to supports, man. Because we got absolutely screwed in the next patch. But at least we get a cool Athena skin finally. Finally can play Athena without having to go, 2 arms. 2 arms. I'm wearing a white cloth. That was just an ugly skin. Shield, oh no, yeah, Shield of Gore, Athena. Syrup, Pensworth, Esquire, Kukulkan. That guy is a badass. That guy does not give a damn about what you think. Does not even care a little. He's going to go with Fenrir, and you guys are going to be trying to do the Gold Fury, and he's going to be sitting with Fenrir at the red buff, and they're just going to be sitting there, drinking a little bit with a pipe, telling stories about taxes. Mad classy. Mad classy. This skin is sweet. I hate to give Soul an amazing skin because I don't want to see her played anymore than she already is. But that is a sweet Soul skin. I mean, is there anything else? I mean, that's a sweet Soul skin. That's a cool skin. Rip everybody's wallets. Incoming Ripperinos. Incoming Ripperinos. Rip wallets. Berserker. Ooh. He is handsome. Oh. Look at those arms, dude. Right now, you know what I'm saying? This is when our friend David at High Res does that little lip thing. He goes, that guy's handsome as shit. And human Ymir. As far as I'm aware, I'm calling this Vamanamir. That's all it is. This is Vamanamir. This is literally make Vamana Ymir. Vamanamir. That's what I'm calling this. I don't know what else to call this. It's Vamanamir. I love it. That's literally what it is. Alright. That ends our skin things. So, that ends our skins. So, some sweet skins coming in for the next patch. New voice packs. Cool, the new skins. Updated god card. Chang'e. Hey, Chang'e's got cool looking masteries now. That's actually a really, really pretty looking skin. Or card, that is. Cool. Loving it. Loving it. And tier. Alright, that's badass. That's cool too. Good. Good for them. Good for them getting cool art cards. Good for them. That is sweet. New ward, Japanese Temple Ward. I know all of you guys are really excited. Hopefully, you know. You're not excited. I know you're not. Maybe you are. Maybe you really enjoy the Japanese Pantheon and you want to make sure you have a Japanese ward. There you go. Also a Japanese avatar. Can't believe there wasn't a Japanese avatar already there. Achievements! Alright, let's not. Sorry, I'm skipping over the achievements. This video is completely ruined. There's no point to even watch anymore. I'm skipping the most important part. Terribly sorry. We've got so much to cover, but, you know, I've just got to skip that incredibly important section, you know, so I can cover, you know what I'm talking about. Japanese event, Rising Dawn. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Cool. Alright. Daily Quest and UI. Daily Quest. So Daily Quest is a new system. They've been talking a lot about it. It is taking over the daily login bonus. Of course, the daily login bonus, you log in, you click your little reward section, you get your 75 FP, more FP, more FP, more FP. Thank you, Matt, for the sub. I appreciate it. And welcome to the Twitches community on Twitch, my friend. So, now instead, you're going to get a quest. You can have a maximum of 2 quests. Upon completing the quest, you will get a favor, a reward, and you get a tick on a quest tracker. It's like a quest bar. Kind of like how the previous one worked, where you would like daily, but now you don't have, I don't think you have to do it on days anymore. It'll just be like, if you did like Monday and you got 2 points, and then you were gone Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you're back Thursday, then you can get another 2 points, so it'll be at 4. I don't think it's relevant to days anymore. It'll just go up the tracker, you hit it, and then a reset. I imagine is how it's going to work. That's what makes the most sense to me. These quests will not be related to playing any game modes, so it's not going to say, play 3 games of Arena. You will not have to play game modes you are not comfortable with. The type of quest that they're looking at is things like play a Chinese god. So it's not going to restrict you to play a god you don't know how to play, but it'll be like play this type of Pantheon, maybe play a hunter or something. So it's going to give you options more in that realm than like go play Conquest and get your ass kicked because you've never played Conquest before. In more of like a, let's broaden your horizon and maybe let's try wrong. It's kind of what we're looking at. New landing page. Cool. 3D landing page is being removed and replaced by a 2D landing page. Cool. Grats. Okay. So let's get into some general gameplay stuff. Conquest map, layout changes. The jungle has a few changes. This will be hard to show without the actual map, but I will try my best to explain it. Jungle camps. Purple buff's out, because why not? Speed buff is out, because why not? No purple buff, no speed buff. The purple buff and speed buff camps have been replaced with a regular camp like a harpy camp, but it's not harpies. They redid it. It's like lizards or something now, like more of like an arena type mob that you would see. And it's just a regular camp that gives you XP and gold, no buffs. The speed buff has been moved. It's been plucked and placed in the fire giant pit. So, there is now 3 imps. We're going to call them imps. They're like these little tiny minions in the fire giant pit. One at the left entrance, one at the right entrance, and one towards the middle part, right? Towards the back of the middle part. You know what I'm talking about. Left, right, middle. So they're spread out a little bit like a triangle. And there's 3 of them. And they're very weak. And they give you low gold. And they give you low XP. And they respawn very fast. And each one gives you 7% movement speed and attack speed. 7% movement speed and attack speed. And here's the kicker. They stack. You can get all 3 onto a character. And it stacks. I'm talking about Mercury with 21% movement speed and attack speed. And I'm going to let you just go ahead and sulk in that for a second. Just sulk in it, dude. Sulk in it. Let it hit you. Just let it just wave over your body. Just accept death by Mercury for the rest of your life. And Kali. Kali will be back. I'm telling you, this amongst a couple other things, I think Kali's coming back. Anyway, next step, the blue buff, which of course you solo laners so much love to be right next to you, has been moved. The blue buff is now in the speed buff location. The previous speed buff location now has the blue buff in it. And the location that had the blue buff now just has an XP camp like the purple buff on the other side of the map. Same thing. So, your blue buff is a lot closer to your mid laner now, and it's a little bit farther away from your solo laner. It shouldn't be a big deal. You should be able to, I mean, as far as like normal starts go, if you think meta, you could still start at that camp, and the solo laner would just pick up the blue buff right then, and then you'd move over to the XP camp and grab it, and then go to lane. Assuming if the start was the same, the solo laner would still get their blue buff, but they would lose like 10 seconds or whatever before they got to lane, comparatively to normal. That seems to be the only change there. The back minion camps have been moved a little bit forward, just like a little bit forward. Nothing crazy, but just a little bit, so you're not quite walking so far back in order to do XP camps. You'll just, you know, you can be a little bit close. You don't have to go quite, and that's also good for invading and stuff. You can go a little bit less deep into the jungle, a little bit less out of position in order to steal stuff. Also to be noted on these XP camps, they're all more open, and it's hard to explain this, but just imagine, think about the fire giant buff, right? Think about fire giant, how it has like 2 openings, and then a little spot where you can't get through like the pillars, and then like the big opening. That's basically how the buff camps looked for speed buff and red buff, is they look like the fire giant pit, where you have 2 openings on the side, and then you have the big opening in the middle, so there's 3-way entry into those buffs. That's basically what they looked like. In fact, that's the best explanation I can think of, and that's exactly what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. Moving on. A little change to lifesteal that's actually important. When you kill a target that's low health, so you're an ADC, and there's a target that has 100 HP, and you crit them for 1,000,000 damage, because crit, and you do not lifesteal over all the crit damage that you do, you lifesteal based on how much life they had left. So if they have 100 HP and you hit for 500, you lifesteal off the 100 damage dealt, not the 500 damage that you dealt. Little change can have big gameplay implications, especially in like the, a low health 2v1 situation against an ADC. Definitely important. New highlighting options, just a little bit more customization. For highlighting, maybe if you have a little bit of problem seeing things in game, it can maybe make things a little bit more clear, help you highlight like a little red highlight around gods. You can turn that on. There's a little bit more options there. So just a little bit more, should be a little bit easier to see if you're hitting the gods or your targeters over the gods and stuff. Some people can have difficulty with that. So just a little option there. AI obstacle avoidance has been improved. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully it makes them stop acting so weird. I'm thinking that this is going to be the change that stops the jungle camps from doing the salsa, as I like to say. You know, when you throw back tail whip the mobs and they're trying to get back to you and they're like dancing around in circles. I'm hoping that's kind of the way to fix that. So that could actually be a big thing. They said to pay attention to it, though. It may cause some weird things, like perhaps buffs walking, you know, if the buffs start walking backwards or something, like, we make sure you report it and let them know that, hey, they're acting a little bit weird, but they're trying to fix that kind of stuff. So, okay, cool. Oh, also, when you mute a player, this is actually important. When you mute a player, it also mutes their social emotes, such as laughing. So you can mute somebody, and then you don't have to hear, you know, Rama laughing at you for the next 30 minutes of the game because he knows that you muted him, so he's just following you around and laugh spamming you. So, quality of life change, shout out. Now, to get into some actual gameplay changes. Also, if you're watching this video on YouTube, yes, this is going to be a long video. You obviously know that. It'll tell you how long it is. There's a lot of changes, and we're going to try to go in-depth on everything that we can. For those of you that are watching this live on Twitch, this is going to be a little while. Like I said, I want to go into as much depth as I can on this kind of stuff and try to help out as much as I can. You know? So, active items. Relics. So, actives are now called relics. They were going to be called trinkets. They like the name relics better. Doesn't matter. Just a name. So, relics are free. Your actives in Season 3 are going to be completely free. They will not cost you anything. You will get one active at level 1, and you'll get one active at level 12. So you have to choose what active you think is going to be the most important to you at level 1, and then later on you can get your secondary active. They cost you 0 gold, and they have a lot longer cooldowns than we have had actives in the past. Moving on. Relics have around the power of tier 3 actives with an extended cooldown, so that way you have to feel like you're really using the active at the right time. The relic. I'm going to call it actives because everybody knows what actives are. That way you can use it at the right time, and if you don't, it'll be a larger effect because you can't just use it again in 60 seconds. These are like 2-minute cooldown, like minimum type things. This is going to be a crazy change. So, first off, teleport, basically the same. You can get teleport. You can teleport to an allied tower reward. Works the exact same way. You get interrupted from CC. Cooldown 3 minutes. You can get that at level 1. Your solo laners can walk to the lane. Bada bing, bada boom. This will possibly lead to some interesting cheese strats. Place a ward down at the enemy buff. Get a quick level 2. Teleport in behind them, maybe, with 2 people from level 1. Maybe not. Maybe. Could be some strategies there. Purification. This is the biggest one in my opinion. This is by far the biggest change. Purification, beforehand known as Purification Bead. Using this removes a crowd control effect and makes you immune to CC for 1 second only, and has a 160-second cooldown and does not reduce your cooldowns. I repeat, makes you CC immune for 1 second, cooldown of 160 seconds, and does not remove or reduce your cooldowns. Beads got Ripperino'd, and CC comps are going to be so strong. Now, this is going to be, before everybody starts freaking out like a ton, this is going to be counteracted a little bit. This is going to be counteracted a little bit because there's a lot of new items, or there's a new stat basically that's been thrown on items, and that's crowd control reduction. A lot more items have about 20% crowd control reduction, so CC won't be lasting as long. Okay? So that will be coming, so don't freak out totally yet. Sanctuary is moving Aegis. Aegis is now Sanctuary, and it's just moving Aegis. That is that. Blink. Rip Blink forever. Peace out. I don't want to see you again. It sucks because I want to play support again, and now all of a sudden Blink sucks. Basically, Blink is the same as Greater Blink was before, 5 seconds out of combat, but now the cooldown is 2 minutes long instead of extremely short. 2-minute cooldown. I expect we will not be seeing our junglers getting blink anymore. So peace out, blink Hunmat's coming in and giving me a big ol' ulti and making me walk into your tower. No mas. No mas. Curse, previously known as Weakening Curse. I don't want that one. Well, I'll give you guys a little preview. Scout's gonna be sick. Anyway, Curse, previously known as Weakening Curse, reduces a speed of people by 40% for 5 seconds. Also reduces healing by 65%, which is a little buff. It was previously 60. They buffed it by 5%. Cooldown is 2 minutes. Keep in mind, you can get it at level 1, but if you don't, then you have to get it at level 12, so you don't have the anti-healing active for healers within that time. So you got to think about that. A new active, Scout. Scout is old, Eye of Providence, but actually good. Upon activation, you may place a single sentry ward, and the cooldown resets upon returning to your fountain. So, it has a cooldown of 2 minutes 20 seconds, but if you place down a ward before you back, and then back, it will be up again, and you can place down another sentry ward. And you can get this at level 1. That's a big deal. That active is actually very good. That's a lot of free wards coming out. That's a lot of gold for the support to not be spending on wards. This will not go over the cap. If you have out the cap amount of wards, you cannot go over that cap. So you cannot return to base continually and spam wards. You will still have a cap on wards. There you go. No big deal there. Wrath. Wrath is Hog. You can get at level 1. It only targets 1 minion now. There is no 3-target minion Hog. But it does do the 1,000 damage base to jungle bosses. And it has a 60-second cooldown. It's the lowest cooldown of the actives. Now, while Hog won't be useful for, say, Bakasura in the solo lane because he doesn't care about killing one creep, what it does mean is at level 1, if you wanted to go Hog on support, you can knock out the Gold Fury at about a minute into the game, or even at level 1, because you'll do 1,000 damage to like a 3,000 HP Gold Fury. Is it worth? Is it enough gold? XP? Maybe. Maybe not. We'll have to find out. It could be an option. It could be an option. Sprint. Sprint is now previously Heavenly Agility. Now they call it Sprint. Same thing. 40% movement speed for 6 seconds, and it makes you immune to slows. Cooldown, though, 140 seconds. The only problem I have with Sprint right now, that's fine. Heavenly Agility was OP. It needed to be nerfed, okay? So here's the problem. The problem, as we're gonna keep talking about, the problem is Mercury, because Mercury can get a free 40% movement speed for 6 seconds for no money with Red Pot at level 1 for 6 seconds of walking at you with 40%, plus his 21% movement speed and attack speed from the speed buffs, plus he has Red Pot, right? Because he can get Red Pot now with this. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm thinking the One Punch Man just became the Half Punch Man. The Half Punch Man. So, lock your windows, lock your doors. He's coming for you. He is coming for you. Shell. Shell stays the same. 45 to each of your protections. Damage reduced by 15 seconds. 140 second cooldown. Shell's going to be strong. Very strong. Because think about how strong that is at level 1. You have a fight at level 5, right? There's always fights at level 5, level 6 around the mid-harpies, right? You have Shell at that point. 45 protections on each when nobody has any pan items yet. Guess what? You just won the fight 100%. I think this is going to be a mandatory active. at level 1, and so is Heavenly Agility. Teams are going to have to make sure that they have somebody pick up both Shell and Heavenly Agility for the team. Otherwise, you will not win the fights at level 5 if the enemy team does, honestly. So that'll be interesting because that means there are definitely 2 people that don't have a getaway active, such as Beat at the start of the game, because you're going to have them for a team fight. There's no way to get around it. Frenzy. This is interesting. Frenzy was previously Girdle. Girdle obviously sucked. Frenzy a little bit better. Using this item gives you 20% magical power and physical buff, but it also makes you deal an additional 20% damage to objectives. So, I'm talking Gold Fury. I'm talking Fire Giant. I'm talking Towers. I'm talking Phoenixes and possibly the Titan. That is interesting. That will be a very possible second slot active. I don't think you're not gonna see that early game, right? You're not gonna see that as a level 1 active, but that will be a very viable second slot active. So we will see how it goes. My only question, of course, is if it stacks with Hog, because that would be hilarious. 20% more damage to objectives. Use your Hog, that's 1,000. Now the Hog does an extra 20% more, so just 1,200. I just wonder. Probably not. I imagine it doesn't affect, but that would be hilarious. Also, Loki backdooring and Bastet backdooring just got even worse. And if you think it's bad now, wait until I get to New Crusher, which everybody just kind of like passively went with. Everybody passively went with in the stream, and nobody really said anything. But New Crusher is broken. We'll get to that later. I'm telling you right now, nobody even freaked out. Nobody freaked out. I freaked out. Continuing on. Meditation. Meditation actually could be totally viable. Free meditation, 2-minute cooldown. Using this item restores to the owner and his allies 35% of the owner's maximum mana and 15% of the owner's health. So, because it's giving the 50% of your owner's health, maximum health, to your team. So actually, if you are a support and you stack health, and then you use this could actually be a very large heal for your team. If you're a 3k health Gab, right, 10% is 300, so 15% is 450. 450 heal to your entire team? That's not bad. That's not bad for an entire team heal. That's like a 2k heal, assuming you hit everybody. So that's not bad. We'll see how that goes. Level 1, it's not quite as effective, but, later in the game. That could probably be more of a second slot active than a first slot active, unless maybe you're like Guan Yu solo or something and you maybe want it more. Sundered. This is a new active, and it's very interesting. Fires a bolt. So this is a aimed projectile active. Fires a bolt that deals 40 true damage base. So level 1, you can invade and use it for actually 40 true damage if you want to. Plus 14 damage per level, and reduces the target's protections by 25%. If you're familiar with Ignite from League, this is very similar. Kind of give or take the same kind of dealio, and a very aggressive active. So it starts at 54 damage, and it reduces protections by 25% for 4 seconds. The people that I see this basically picking this up is you're going to probably see this picked up on your Lokis. Because what does Loki want to do more than anything? He want to hit you with a bolt that takes away your protections by 25%, so then he can ult you and he can one-shot you. Right? So that's what I expect to see that on. And that's the end of our relics, which of course you can get at level 1 and 12, and they do not cost you anything. Consumables. Sentry wards reduce vision range from 60 to 45. Well, they did not mention that in the patch notes. This is new to me. I am sad. This was the worst patch for support. Absolutely the worst. Just the worst. Why? That's so rare. They didn't even mention that. That's out of nowhere. Alright then. Well, I guess Scout isn't quite as good as I thought it was, because Sentry Ward's all of a sudden worse. Alrighty then. Alright. Cool. Alright. Apparently they did mention it, but I might have been gone. I got a burrito. I went to get a burrito. That's when he mentioned it. I done missed it when I got my burrito. So, let's get into some item changes. Defensive items. So, a big thing about Season 3, which I'm happy because I did recommend it, was they removed a lot of HB and protections and made them separately. HB is more of like its own items, and protections are more of their own individual items. And you can't really get items that give you 500 health and 500 protections on the same item. You'll have to go into different items to do that. If you want protections and then health, you have to decide what you want more. Breastplate tree. Breastplate of Valor. Cooldown reduction has been reduced from 25% to 20%. Cool. Great. Cooldown's OP anyway. Spectral armor is a new item, and it's very, very cool. It branches off of silver breastplate. It costs 2,300 gold, 80 physical protections, 300 mana, 25% crowd control reduction. That's that new thing I was talking about that they're putting on a lot of items. It's not new. I mean, it was on Reinforced Greaves, but it's basically being put on a lot more items. So you can get this, of course, to reduce your Athena taunt durations and stuff. Also, it's passive. Lifesteal is 50% less effective against you. 50%. And each time you're hit by a lifesteal effect, there's a 30% chance that you get an additional 20 protections for 5 seconds. It's basically an anti-hunter item, basically. Very strong. Very strong. It's good. It's good. Hide of the Dominion Lion, rip forever. It's not good anymore. Increased the physical protections by 10. Removed the health. Gave mana instead of health. And decreased the price by 50. You're never getting Hide of the Dominion Lion anymore. I fixed it for you. There you go. Don't worry about it. You're not getting it. Also, it should be mentioned, I forgot earlier, Shield of the Underworld is currently out. They said it will probably come back in the next PTS iteration. But as of right now, Shield of the Underworld is not a relic. So, you got that. You got that. That was a quick mention that kind of reminded me. There we go. The Iron Mail Tree. Physical protections reduced on Steel Mail. One of the second tier on that tree reduced from 40 to 20 protections. Okay. Mystical Mail has had its health increased to 300, but the physical protections reduced to 30. No longer giving that many. Midgardian Mail, only change was reduced protections from 60 to 30. Still cost the same, still gives the same health. Midgardian Mail needed the nerf. It was an incredibly strong item. Sovereignty. Actually, I like this change. It doesn't really affect that much, but it does, though. Reduce protections on Sovereignty from 50 to 30. And before you cry as support, they changed the passive, and it now gives you 20 physical protections and HP 5 instead of magical protections. So it still gives 50, but now you don't get the magical protections, but your team gets the physical protections early for towers, minions, objectives, stuff like that. So Sovereignty may be a good item to pick up again. It may be something you want to look towards for your team to get the early physical protections. So, that's good. Glowing Emerald Tree. This tree is sick. It's an HB and HP 5 regen tree. Okay? It's a cool tree. It's a cool tree. So, Glowing Emerald is the new tier 1 in the tree. 100 health, 10 HP 5, 750. Cool. Tier 2. I think this item is really good. Tier 2 now gives 200 health and 20 HP 5, and it still costs 1480. Okay? That's good. Now check out Stone of Gaia. Stone of Gaia no longer gives magical protections, but it does give 350 health, plus it gives all the regen, plus it has the same passive. Lot of HP on Stone of Gaia. Silver Mail has been renamed to Emerald Mail. This is your Mail of Renewal tree. Mail of Renewal basically got nerfed. They reduced the cost of this by about 115, and it now gives HP 5 and no physical protections. Mail of Renewal no longer gives physical protections. Its cooldown was reduced from 15 to 10. Its HP was increased by 100. It now gives an extra 10 HP 5. It no longer gives the physical protection. It is not that great anymore. It's okay. It's not great. Gauntlet of Thebes. Now, before you freak out, yes, Gauntlet of Thebes is back in the game. Yes, it is. No, it is not OP as it was before. Yes, Hercules will be completely and utterly annoying with this item, and I will not want to play against Hercules on this patch. Gauntlet of Thebes branches off of Emerald Talisman. It gives 400 health, 25 HP 5, and a passive increase of all healing received by 20%, and it costs 2,300 gold. Hercules is gonna be healing on up, folks. He's gonna be healing on up. It's gonna be incredibly annoying. That will be something. That will be something. So, that's annoying. Also, perhaps Tyr, perhaps Opwash, perhaps Chuck. There you go. Other characters that may be annoying. Talisman Tree. Pestilence, actually, in my opinion, got a buff. Decreased the health by 100, increased the magical protections by 15. 80 magical protections is no joke. Heartwood Amulet sucks. They reduced the health by 100. They reduced the magical protections by 40. And of course, now it gives you magical protections in MP5. Honestly, you're going to get it as a support if you need it for the aura for your team. But other than that, you're going to be getting Pestilence because Pestilence is a better item. So, there you go. Bulwark of Hope is an item that will not be probably getting through the PTS without getting a nerf throughout this. Because Bulwark of Hope now gives you 200 health instead of 450 health. What does it also do, you might say? What does it also do? Well, you see, it reduces crowd control effects by 20%. That's nice because, beads are not nearly as good anymore. Passive is changed, you see. Passive is changed, you see. When you take damage and are below 30% health, you gain a shield now equal to 150 health plus 15 per level, and it can occur every 60 seconds. Now, it is important to note that on this shield, the way this active works, of course, Bulwark of Hope still gives the magical defense, it just wasn't changed. It should be noted that if you're fighting a jungle camp and you drop below 30% health and you get the shield and you back, the shield does not wear off. The shield will stay on you. It will stay on you and you can go into your next fight already with a shield. Talk about some tactical play right there. Talk about some tactical play. I don't know. Figure it out. The Enchanted Kusari Tree. This is a new tree for magical protection in MP5. Okay? Magical protection in MP5. Also, yes, Ares is going to be incredibly strong with the new beads and how that works because crowd control reduction won't matter because you're getting pulled. It will be a nightmare going against Ares. An absolute nightmare unless you have CC immune ults. Continuing. Tier 1, 30 magical protection, 5 MP5. Tier 2, which I think mid laners may even start to pick up. 50 magical protections. 10% crowd control reduction. 15 NP5 for 1250 gold, meaning you can still get potions. 50 magical protections against another mage mid? I don't know, man. He ain't going to do any damage to you. Perhaps it's a thought. Perhaps it's a thought. Moving into Genji's Guard, which this item, combined with Herc, Because this is the Herc meta. 80 magical protections, 20% CC reduction, 20 MP5, and your HP 5 is increased by 150%. And your movement speed by 20% for 5 seconds upon taking magical damage, and can occur every 30 seconds. Yep. Combine that with your old HP item that gives you 20% healing increase on top of your Herc 3, and you're gonna be healing. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. That'll be great to deal with. Love it. Love it. The other option in the tree is Hunter's Guard, which is another very interesting item. 60 magical protections, 15% crowd control, 20 MP5. And its passive instead is every 10 seconds you're out of combat, you gain a plus 15. It's percent there. It doesn't say it, but it was. At least it was on the screen. I don't know if it is or not. It said plus 15% magical protection of 3 stacks. That just says plus 15, so maybe it just goes up to 45 regular magical protections. But when it was on the stream, it said percent. So I'm assuming it's percent, and that it's just not there. But, because if it's not percent, then I actually don't think it's maybe quite as good. Maybe it's bad, I don't know. It's good. Regardless, it's good, but I think Genji's Guard is definitely going to be the item you lean towards. So I'm not sure if that's percent or not. A lot of the times I'm not sure if it's percent or not, because sometimes it says percent and it doesn't even mean it. So, going into the Cudgel tree, we're still in defense items. Okay? Still in defense items. Runeforged Hammer is going to be an item. It's going to be an item. And I mean, it's going to be an item for Robin. And I'm about to tell you why. Runeforged Hammer now branches off of Heavy Hammer. It no longer gives you physical protections. It does give you 30 physical power instead of protections. And it now only gives you 200 health instead of 350. So, what could possibly break this item, right? What could just make this item make me want to just do a little bit of this? Well, you see, this item has had its cost increased to 2,700 gold. That's weird. That's a lot of gold. Why would it cost that much? The stats aren't that great on it. Well, because your abilities will now deal an additional 15% of your physical power as magical damage. Oh, did I mention that it will actually do 30% of your physical power as magical damage if your target is slowed or rooted? I'm talking Bluestone Bleed plus Runeforged Hammer Bleed of 30% of your total physical power on a target when you're Robin, which you have a 6-second cooldown slow or lower, and a root. That's all I'm saying. Bleed out your butt, bleed out your butt. Bleed out your, bleed out your, bleed out your butt. You going to bleed right out your butt. Gonna be bleeding out your eyeballs, out your nose, and out your ears. Every orifice will be bleeding. So, that'll suck. That'll suck. Heavy Hammer. Heavy Hammer reduced physical power from 18, increase it from 18 to 20. Increase the health from 100 to 150. And why? Because it no longer provides a slow. Because why would a tier 2 item provide a slow? That was silly. That was silly. Frostbound Hammer has also been nerfed. Because why would it slow for 2 seconds? Reduced health from 325 to 300. And reduced the slow duration from 2 to 1.25 seconds. Because nobody likes playing Frostbound Hammer. Because why did that item ever have to be real? So, it'll still be okay, but it won't be absolutely unstoppable unless you have a way to get out of the slow. Especially with actives having larger cooldowns, that's a big deal. Round Shield Tree. I'm just going to get right through this. The big thing is that they still suck. Shield of Regrowth, Shifter Shield, and Void Shield are still not that good. So, That's the big story there. Go ahead, look at the items. Pause the video if you need to. They're not good. Don't get them. Ever. Cool. Okay. Enchanted Buckler Tree. Ancile has changed a lot, and it's kind of cool. We're calling it Bancrofts for Melees. Let's go. Reduce cooldown from 15 to 10%, because we're reducing cooldown across the board a little bit. The new passive, you gain 0.5% physical power for every 1% of your missing health. Now, I'm telling you, when you get bled by a Robin who has our bleed item, plus he has a blue stone, plus he has an Ancile, and you've gotten this Robin down to 10% health, and you've got 30% health left, and you are very excited that you're about to kill this guy, and he hits you with a slow, then that slow does more bleed damage because he has more physical power because he was missing more of his health. And when you getting blood on your bloods, you're going to come to me, and you're going to say, why? Why did this happen? And I'm going to say, because that's a cool item. And they deserve it. Shout out to the suicide players of the world who charge in to a group of 5 and they just want to get 1 kill. Shout out to you. Here is your item. The Cloak Tree. Spirit Robe had its cooldown reduced because cooldown reductions, and it now gives you 10% crowd control reduction to make up for it. Spirit Robe will still be a great item. Hide of the Urchin got nerfed ever so slightly. Base protections reduced from 45 to 35. Protections gained up from 2 to 3. Max protections still exactly the same. Protections you get from finishing the item, 10 less on each. So, let's get to our first new item. I mean like really, really new. And I mean like really, really expensive. So, before you start reading these and you think this is the most OP item ever, let me just tell you that this item is worth $1 bajillion and you will not be getting it anytime soon. But let's go into it. Unrelenting Sorrow. 60 physical protections. 60 magical protections. 15% cooldown reduction. And the passive to end all passives except for the even more OP passive coming later in our offensive games. Are you ready? Breathe. Everybody, deep breath. In. Out. One more time. I'm serious. One more time. In. Out. If you take damage below 30%, you unleash a shockwave that stuns all enemies within 20 for 1 second, and you gain CC immunity for a second. But you can only do it once every 90 seconds, and it costs you 3,600 gold. So an incredibly strong item, but absolutely incredibly expensive. But damn, girl, you looking good because I want to be wearing you. Like, what is that, man? That is cray. That is crazy, man. What a cool item. Man, love it. Love it. Let's go. Let's go. So, now we're into our offensive items, and we're done with our defensive items. So, let's go ahead and get into those. That is the most expensive item in the game, except for another one that they added that's even more expensive. But that would currently be the most expensive item in the game if they didn't add an even more expensive item that's, in my opinion, even more broken. So, we'll get to that. And it's for you mages out there, for you mage lovers. Don't skip ahead in the video. You want it to be special. Offensive items. Soul Eater was changed because why did Soul Eater give you every stat in the game outside of like movement speed? It has been changed. It no longer gives you health. It does give you 30% attack speed instead of 15% attack speed, which is a big deal. That's a lot of attack speed, which means you may not also need to get attack speed from other items if you go Soul Eater, because that's a lot of attack speed. Maybe you can skip Aussie or something. Get the new Executioner. New passive. This is a kind of a weird passive, so we're going to talk about it for a second. It also gives you the same lifesteal. So it gives you the same lifesteal, and it gives you the increased attack speed. It doesn't clarify that, but it doesn't give you health anymore. And the passive is new. New passive. Killing an enemy eats their soul. Okay? An enemy qualifies as minion, jungle camp, objective, enemy god. Okay? 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 You get an extra half a point of lifesteal. You get 0.5% lifesteal. An extra 0.5% movement speed. Movement speed. Okay? Up to 20 stacks. So an additional 10% lifesteal on the 20 that it already has. So you can get up to 30. And an additional 10% movement speed. If you take damage, so you fall below 50% health, you consume the stacks. You consume them, and you get a 20% heal. It's 1% for each stack. If you're fully stacked, you get a 20% heal. Now, you hit 50, you heal back up to 70%. During your fight with the god, you use a skill that goes through them, and you kill 5 more minions. So you drop back down to 50% health, and then you heal back up to 55. It can keep proccing. It can keep proccing. Interesting item. Interesting item. Bound Gauntlet, of course, to reflect that, had its health removed, and this is the tier 2 going into Soul Eater, and it now gives you 15% attack speed instead of 7. Soul Eater, gonna be strong, very different than it used to be. Doesn't make you as tanky as it used to be, but it does give you a lot of lifesteal, which is interesting. So. Katana Tree. This is a new tree focused on items with physical power and movement speed. This tree has some interesting stuff, so let's get right into it. Tier 1, 10 physical power and 5% movement speed. 800 gold. Tier 2, 15% power, 15 power, 8% movement speed. And it costs you 1,300. Let's get into one of our new items. This is because tanks were OP, I agree. So let's just ruin all tanks forever. 30 physical power and 10% movement speed. And let's just throw in some more damage. You deal an additional physical power damage against targets with more health than you, equal to 1 power per 10 health, for a maximum of 50 physical power. 50 physical power. If they have 500 more max health than you. Now, 500 more max health is not a ridiculous thing to have. If you're a tank with a couple HP items, and you've got 2,800 health, and you're a Loki that builds regular build, and you've got 1,800 health, well, grats, you've got an additional 50 damage. That's a lot. That's a lot. Excuse me, I said power. I meant damage, not power. I meant damage, not power. But that's a lot of extra damage. That's a lot of extra damage. I meant to say damage. On stream it said power. On here it says damage. We'll find out when we get in game whether it is power or damage. I don't think it matters. It has to be damage because it doesn't give you power because you're attacking them. You just do bonus damage on top of them. That makes more sense that it says damage and not power. So, that makes more sense. We'll see what happens. Another option that you have, Stone Cutting Sword. 50 power, 10% movement speed, and melee basic attacks decrease. Melee basic attacks. That's important. Hunters cannot get this. Melee basics. Decrease enemy physical protections by 10. And increase your physical protection by 10. For 3 seconds, and it stacks 3 times. I'm talking a 30 penetration item. If you keep hitting somebody. I'm talking 30 penetration. 30. Plus you get protections. Yeah. 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 That's an item. That can be good. Very expensive though. Costs 3,100 gold. It's a melee Cabal. Even though Cabal works on melees. Heartseeker. They try to make Heartseeker into another thing again. It's weird. 25 physical power and 15% movement speed. Now, that's interesting to be noted. 15% movement speed on an 1800 gold item. This could be a boots replacement if you so choose. Hitting an enemy with a basic attack helps you gain focus. You gain increased attack speed by 3% per stack for max of 5 stacks, so 15% attack speed. And at 5 stacks, your next ability cast gains an additional 40 power. Give or take, maybe you want it, maybe you don't. Could be a boots replacement. Will it be? Maybe, maybe not, but definitely could be. 40 physical power, 18% movement speed, 25, 15 plus 15 plus 40 on a skill. Give or take, 1800 gold, that's pretty cheap. That's pretty cheap. Light Blade Tree. Light Blade. So, Executioner got buffed, kind of, in my opinion. Basic attacks against an enemy reduce your target's physical protection by 6% for 3 seconds and a stack 6 times. 6 times this stacks. 36%. So this is not nearly as effective against low protection targets, but against people that are building into straight physical protections, you have so much reduction, and it increased the attack speed to 25%. So, in all intents and purposes, it got buffed. Also, I'm pretty sure that should be better against objectives now. So, I don't know, man. But it does lose the flat pen. It does lose the flat pen. Kin size saw a little bit of love. Increased power by 10. Reduced cost by 150. Kin size back in the meta. Perhaps, especially for people like Kali. Let's get down into our mace tree. Jotuns. Reduced cooldown by 5. Reduced pen by 1 because 11 was killing everybody's OCD and nobody knew why it ever became 11 in the first place. Seriously, why was it ever 11? I don't care. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. Make it 10. Thank you. Brawler's Beatstick has an interesting change. Brawler's Beatstick passive works off ability hits rather than basic attacks. Interesting change. We'll see how it affects things. Going to be very good for characters like Bastet who want to jump into a fight, get the thing off, and then jump back out without ever autoing. Decent change. Now Crusher. We make it to Crusher. We make it to Crusher. So, if this has the same description that it did on the stream, we in trouble. We in trouble. It is real. It is real. It's real. It's real. It's real. We're starting off. It gives the same stats. It gives the same stats. But the passive now increases your attack speed by 10% per stack. And increases your penetration by 5 per stack. And it doesn't say here, but on stream, it said it stacks 5 times. I repeat, 5 times for 50% attack speed and 25 pen. I'm sorry. Let me say that again. You're going to get split push with a god that now is attacking 50% faster with 25 pen. Because split push is a lot of fun, and I love going against Lokis that have Crusher and the new active that makes him do 25%, 20% more damage when he's doing 50% faster attacks when he has 25 more pen. Feels bad, man. There's no way that item makes it through the PTS without getting changed. There's a 0% chance because, believe me, nobody wants to go against a Loki split push. It's not fun for anybody from the newest of players to the oldest of players. Morningstar Tree. Hydra's Lament. Increased damage from passive by 5%. Woo! Morningstar Speed. Removed it as a no connecting item. Nice. Yeah. Doom Orb is back. The original... It won't let... Okay, Doom Orb is back. Basically, remember the original Doom Orb? It's back for mages. 40 power, 200 mana. You get MP5, and you gain +2 magical power per stack. And you receive 5 per god kill, 1 per minion kill. Half your stacks are lost on death. Maximum of 50 stacks. Maximum, of course, of 140 magical power when fully stacked. So, there you go. It's back in town. Boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. This tree has some crazy change. So, the Emerald Ring Tree. For those that don't know, that's the Telkind's Ring and Demonic Grip. Both are seeing changes. One of them are seeing crazy changes. And I mean, like, why are we giving Freya another item? I don't understand. Okay. Demonic Grip was changed to better fit in and be the exact same as the Magical Executioner. 6% magical protection for 3 seconds, max of 6 stacks. Okay? 36% for magical protection. Okay? Now, where's the issue? So, let's go into Telkind's Ring. Telkind's Ring, which is a great... I love this item, by the way. I think this is going to be hilarious. Increase attack speed from 10 to 30%. 30%! 30%! That's a lot of percent. In fact, that's about 3 times as much percent as it used to give. Now, they reduced the additional damage on the passive from 40 to 35, and they removed the health. Okay? So it doesn't give you the, what was 100 health. It doesn't give you the health anymore. And you do 5 less damage on the passive, but you get 30% attack speed plus the 35 damage. Freya be like, bop, 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 boom. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, man. We'll see how that goes down. But Telkind's Ring is gonna be good again. It's gonna be good. Oh, man. We're coming back to the Telkind's Ring. Telkind's. So we'll see. See how that does. Is this our new? So, we've talked about a lot of stuff, right? We've talked about a lot of stuff. This upcoming item, I need everybody to stand up and sit back down and stand up again and walk around your room and go over here and then come on back and then go back and sit down, because I'm about to introduce you to an item that I can only describe as the wet dream of every mage that has ever existed. Alright? Literally everybody ever. So, first let's start with Voidstone. Voidstone gets a little bit of a buff. Increased magical protection reduction on the passive from 15 to 20, just like the physical version Void Shield. So, let's go. Spear of Desolation, which sounds like an item that would absolutely destroy you. And it will. Spear of Desolation is a new luxury item, and as far as I'm aware, it will now be the most expensive item in the game. Let's start off with step 1. 130 magical power and 30 penetration. I don't mean 10 pen. I don't even mean 20 pen. I mean 30 flat pen with 130 magical power. And it's passive. It's passive. I swear to you. I swear to you. If you kill an enemy god, all of your cooldowns are reduced by 8 seconds. What? Get me out. Get me out. I don't want... What does that even mean? What are you doing? So you kill somebody, and then you immediately kill everybody else. Now that can only proc once every 30 seconds. But man, you about to get heboed into your hebo. Woo! It does cost 3,700 gold. But like, damn, dude. That is an item of all items. Oh. Oh. Whew. Whew. Okay. Okay, let's calm back down because nothing else that happens is nearly that exciting. Nothing is nearly that exciting. Tiny Trinket Tree. Polynomicon got buffed because I love giving items back to Freya to make her even stronger. In Kronos. You know? I figure if we give her Telkine's Ring, you know, if we give her more attack speed, we should make sure that when she's getting her magical power online, that she can hit me harder with her single auto attack. Because we want to give her 75% scaling instead of 60% scaling. Because we want to make that a viable item on people like Soul, even earlier. So. Imperial Helmet Tree. They're trying to make this tree not crappy. Increase the magical power from 30 to 40. Increase protections from 50 to 70. Celestial Legion Helm maybe will be an item that you're looking at. But, like, it's still not that great. Uncommon Sash Tree. A little bit of a change here. Nothing crazy. So, basically, this Ethereal Staff nerf was a direct result of the Dirty Bubble build. 200 less health, but it gives you a little bit more damage. This way you can't just build an Ethereal Staff early on a mage and be like, hey, you can never kill me. I'm Outwash. I'm going to full heal myself. Also partially because Outwash is getting nerfed. So, more damage from it, but less health. So, like, it's less bonus power because you have less health, but, like, you know, build a couple other health items. New tree. We have another new tree here. Shrieking Tree. This tree is not my favorite. I don't think it's that good. 10 power, 10 crit chance, 900. You can build the tier 2 out of here. Throwing Dagger, which has had its critical chance increased from 7 to 10 to compensate for the tier 1 having 10%. And then, of course, Golden Bow is also in that tree now. Okay? So nothing crazy there. The other side of this is if you go to the other side, you get 15 power and 15% crit chance at a cost of 1,500 gold. Okay? And now this next tier is basically a hunter counter to Hercules. Wind Demon. You get 40 physical power, 20% crit chance, and your crits also reduce healing of targets by 40% for 3 seconds. It costs 2,800. I think it's very okay. I don't think you're going to see it picked up that often because why not get Brawler's Beat Stick and use an ability? Maybe it stacks with Brawlers. That could maybe make it better, but why wouldn't you just get Brawlers? It's a crit item, sure, but like, are you really going to get this for crit instead of grabbing a Brawlers and then getting your crit elsewhere? That's the way that I look at it. That's the way that I look at it. Maybe it'll end up being good, but that's the way I look at it, is why not go Brawlers? Hidden Dagger Tree. So, Deathbringer. Increase gold by 50 because even numbers are cooler. Rage. Decrease the cost by 155 because even numbers are cooler. But it also got nerfed. Decrease the basic critical damage from 30% to 20%. Increase the stacks from 5 to 6. So technically, if you didn't crit at all, you'll still get the same percentage at the end. But it does start you off 10% lower, which means that it's not quite as good of an item, which is why its cost has been decreased. But definitely not as effective an item. And Malice has had the price increased because why not? Also, I don't think that's how Malice is spelled. I'm not a scientist, but I'm pretty sure that's not how Malice is spelled. So. Now we get into God changes. Starting off with a nerf to Outwash. So, Hollow Ground. Reduce the restoration of 6% maximum health to 5% because the dirty build has ruined Outwash. For all of you Outwash fans, I'm sorry, but that's a direct result of Outwash Dirty Bubble build going health and being like, hey, let me spam this and get all my health back. Undead Surge has had the slow reduced from 40% at all ranks to 20 through 40. Outwash getting nerfed even harder. You won't see nearly as much as him. There goes the dirty bubble build because of item nerfs, and there goes Opwash. Peace out, Opwash. You never coming back. Amaterasu. Dazzling offensive now plays a distinct bell chime noise in all 3 strikes. Crazy. So, this next god, Ao Kuang. Just real quick in the chat, go ahead and tell me what you think about Kuang. Tell me if you think he's balanced, OP, or needs, or if he's bad. Bad, normal, or good. Or bad, normal, or great. Just let me know. 1, 2, 3. 1 bad, 2 normal, 3 great. Let me know. What do you personally think about Ao Kuang right now? Honestly. Honestly, what do you think? For the most part, what we're seeing in chat is that he's a pretty balanced god, honestly. He is quite normal. That's the truth. We're seeing a lot of 2s. Because honestly, Ao Kuang is pretty strong. He's fine. He's not OP. He's not bad. He's pretty good. So, what would we do to him? Well, let's just buff him. Ao Kuang has been suffering. Maybe. Not really, though. Not really, though. So, let's just buff some of his stats. Let's just throw him a bone. So let's increase his health scaling from 74 to 82 per level. Okay, that's a couple more HP. I mean, that's not a big deal. Well, I mean, let's increase his HP 5 by a little bit. So, he can regen a little bit more. He doesn't have to back as much. So, I mean, that's... Well, I mean, if we're going to increase his HP 5, we should increase his scaling that he gets per level. So that way, it's to come, because he got more. So we should just give him more. I mean, that's... But, I mean, if we're going to be giving him HP 5 scaling, then we should probably give him the Freya treatment. So we should make sure he's getting his magical protections. So that way he's better against those magical damage carries that he goes again in the lanes. Because, if Freya has it, he should probably have it. But then at the same time, if he's getting more magical protections, I mean, we should probably increase how much magical, damage he does, scaling. So let's increase that from 1.5 to 2.4 because... I mean, magical. He has more defenses, so he needs the more scaling. So let's just give him everything. Let's just buff everything about Ao Kuang passively. Let's just give him all better numbers. So I don't think it's gonna break Ao Kuang, but he's certainly gonna be a lot higher in the 2 or a lower 3 comparatively to being like a 2. So that is something. We're just throwing Ao Kuang a bone. Artemis actually got a buff. Shout outs to Artemis. Okay. Decrease the amount of time it takes Tusky to select a new target after dashing. The boar will now choose a new target every 0.5 seconds instead of 1.5 seconds. So instead of Tusky sitting there and doing nothing for forever, Tusky will actually be like, hey, stun, 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 stun. He'll actually be going around and doing stuff instead of being like, I'm a boar. I'm a boar. And you're like, Tusky, you want to go stun him? And you're like, some nice grass over here. I'll get to it eventually. He was basically Eeyore for all intents and purposes. Is Artemis going to be super playable? Probably not. Is it going to be less frustrating to use Tusky? Totally. Bellona, Bellona was underperforming. Across the board, her stats were pretty low. So, they decided that she probably needed a little bit more damage and a little bit lower cooldowns. Her hammer wasn't doing quite enough damage. So, we buffed it a little bit percentage-wise to make so when you hit more people, you get a little bit more damage. And then, of course, her ultimate has had reduced cooldown because I'm totally messing with you guys. I'm totally messing with you. Bellona got a little nerf, an itty-bitty nerf, not enough, and not really to the right things. But Bellona got a little itty-bitty nerf. So as it turns out, Bellona had a really strong showing in Season 2. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk that Bellona had a strong showing? Oh, man, I could have sworn she needed a buff, man. So, Bludgeon, reduced slam bonus per god that it hits from 30 to 25%. Not a big change, but a decent change. Scourge, reduce the disarm rate to be a little bit lower. But that's it. That's all that was touched. Her ultimate is still super strong. The base damage on Bludgeon is super strong. Her entire kit is still super strong. This isn't really going to affect Bologna. She's still going to be a top character. It really wasn't that much of a nerf. The Scourge will be a little bit less annoying, but like that is not that much of a difference. They want to see how she's affected by the item nerfs. Because, you know, there was a lot of item nerfs, particularly for tanks. So they want to see to make sure that she wasn't just OP based off of items, that it is, in fact, some part of her kits. And I'm telling you right now, perhaps it's the 4-second cooldown hammer that has 400 base damage. I'm throwing it out there that could be it. That could be it. I'm not a scientist, but that could be it. So, Bakasura. His ultimate now does 3 times as much damage. Y'all wish. No. But they increased his base physical power scaling from 36 to 38. Cool. And they made Eat Minion a little bit better. You now get the protection buff for twice as long. The cooldown is reduced to 15. And the mana cost was reduced to 55. A little bit more sustainability. Can use it more often early. Gets the protections a little bit longer. Will it make Baka viable? Probably not. Probably not. Chiron. Got a little bit of a nerf. Herbal Medicine, multiple instances of healing no longer stack. So that'll make him a little bit less annoying. It'll just refresh the duration instead of giving him twice the heal. And Masterful Shot will have an increased cooldown of 2 seconds just to make it so he can't quite spam it for the harass as often. But Chiron will not really change. He'll be just as strong. Guan Yu gets a weird change. Increased base movement speed from 365 to 375. A little bit easier to keep people in your Talon Assaults. A little bit faster in Cavalry Charge, because why not? And a little bug fix with Cavalry Charge, which is a hilarious bug. Fixed a bug where Cavalry Charge wouldn't go on cooldown if Khepri revived you in the middle of the ult. So, like, you would be Guan Yu, right? And you'd be like, look at my horse is a bleh. And you'd die, and you'd come back to Khepri, and the enemy team would be like, yay, we did it, we got rid of Guan. And then he'd be like, look at my horse is amazing. And they're like, oh my god, he's back, the horse can't die. So, that's actually a pretty good bug fix. That's pretty important, honestly. Weird bug, but there you go. So, there you go. Hades has a crazy change. You guys aren't going to believe this. Hades has been reclassified from a guardian to a mage to better fit his style, and he joins the rank of the mages. And so, they completely redid all of his stats. They completely redid Hades, and then they just moved him from guardian to a mage, and they didn't touch a single one of his stats. I was just kidding. Hades is still trash. Had you going there for a second, didn't I? Y'all thought Hades was going to do more damage. Y'all thought he was going to do more damage. Nah, Hades didn't get changed. He didn't get changed. So, Kali, though. Kali did get changed. Kali actually saw quite a big buff. And this is not a lie. This is actually true. Kali saw a pretty big buff. So, Kali's passive is now rewarded on kills or assists. And she will now heal 15% of her maximum health on assists. So if somebody steals your kill, you will still get a little bit of a heal. And it increases the gold bonus from 25 to 30. If you get an assist, you do not get a kill gold reward. You get a 30% bonus on the assist reward. So, but honestly, a good change for Kali. That, plus the fact that the speed buff also gives attack speed now. Kali obviously loves attack speed. 21% attack speed and 21% movement speed at the same time. Kali may come back in the meta. Kins has more power and costs less. Khepri got nerfed because you can't have a patch in SMITE without nerfing Khepri because He's a hug bug, and you got to make sure he's a really sad hug bug. He's going to be like a moo-moo. He's going to start crying soon, man. He's going to, every single one of his cards, it's just going to be tears. Just going to be straight tears. Rising Dawn had its damage reduction reduced again, because as it turns out, flat damage reduction as a skill with Shell is OP. So reduced from 10 to 30, from 5 to 25. And his ultimate fixed a tooltip air stating power and reduced the range on it from 65 to 55. So when your friend is over the wall and you were just within range, now you are not within range because screw you, Capri. Get out of this game because we put you in this game as the strongest god we've ever seen, and now you will continue to get nerfed until you are absolutely useless. Odin actually received a pretty substantial buff in a roundabout way. We're going back a little bit to some old Odin mechanics. He has a base movement speed increase from 365 to 375, and his Ring of Spears he can now move through, and the duration has been increased a second to 6 seconds. Not super crazy, but definitely significant, especially for newer Odins who want to jump in instead of using something like Blink, and now they can get out of their ultimate, and you can use your ultimate now to get away. Definitely a good quality of life change for Odin. Definitely good. Robin. Prana Onslaught. Reduced scaling from 95 to 80. 10-hand Shadow Fist. Increase the cooldown from 15 to 18. Robin will still be fine. He'll still be extremely strong with the new items, but at least we're moving in the right direction because that god is so good. So good. Nemesis seeing a buff. We're going to see Scales of Fate. Her passive is going to be a little bit easier to understand. Hitting enemies with basic attacks reduces their power by 4% per hit, and it increases your own by 4% per hit, up to 16%, so a 32% shift in power. Pretty big. Pretty big. Easy to understand, nothing crazy. 32% power shift. Now, a change that I'm not sure was completely necessary, but her ultimate got a 20-second cooldown reduction. So, I'm not sure why, but that will be annoying. So we'll see how that works out because that is a low cooldown. That is low. So we'll see how that affects her. We'll see how that affects her. Sir Cat, everybody pray. Everybody pray. I'm not gonna mess with you guys in this one. I'm not gonna mess with you because this isn't funny. Sir Cat got nerfed. Sir Cat got nerfed. It finally happened. You can pray to the Elo gods. You can pray to the almighty characters that couldn't escape. She got nerfed. And it's actually a good nerf. It's actually a good nerf. Her movement speed has been reduced from 380 to 370 because why does she have 380 base movement speed? Why? Why was that ever a thing? That's a good start. That's a good start. Next. Deathbane has had increased cooldown from 10 seconds to 12 seconds because why were her cooldowns so short? And Ambush has had a 3-second cooldown increase. So now she can't jump in and hit you and then immediately jump out. She has to actually wait a second before she jumps up. And cooldown was nerfed a little bit, so she can't quite get... Her cooldown is low with only getting one item. So she won't have even... She'll have even more cooldowns. Yes! Yes! She has to be a little bit more risky. She still does all the same damage, which is fine, but at least she can't go in and out at the speed of light all the time. Soul got nerfed. Soul got nerfed. A big nerf, actually. Stellar Burst no longer slows. So you no longer get Stellar Bursted and then immediately get hit by everything she has to offer because you can't get away. Stellar Burst no longer slows. That is a big change. It's not quite as much as I wanted, but that is big. But that is big. So, Thor has had 2 changes to him. One of them was a nerf. One of them was a nerf. The other one was also a nerf. That happened to be a bug. That for the entire existence of SMITE, nobody realized. Warriors Madness has had its physical power reduced from 15 to 10 up to 3. Now instead of giving 45, it gives 30. Great. So what possible bug could Thor have had since the beginning of time that nobody noticed? What could we possibly have not noticed? That tectonic rift lowered its cooldown when you leveled it up. It lowered the cooldown. Every time you put a point in a tectonic rift, it lowered the cooldown. And then when you had that on top of your cooldown items, it was even lower. Now it officially has a flat 17-second cooldown at all ranks instead of lowering all the way down to like 12 seconds. How did nobody catch this? How did nobody catch this? He's played so much. Now, Adapting knew, 100%. You know Adapting's over there snarking. He's like, oh shit, they finally found out, Andy. Andy's like, oh my god, Adapting, did you tell him? He's like, I didn't tell him. Did you tell him? So, there you go. There you go. Conspiracy theory, Andy and Adapting, man. Conspiracy theory. So, Vamana actually got buffed in a very unique and important way, actually. First of all, his movement speed was increased by a lot. From 365 to 380. That's a lot. That's base. That was what Sir Cat was at, base movement speed. And that combined with this next change is very interesting. Colossal Fury now has a bigger radius of damage from 12 to 16. 12 to 16. That is a huge increase. That's a huge increase in damage. You move faster and you have a bigger radius around you that you can hit in your ultimate. You don't need the Heavy Hammer Fatalis now to get your Vamana ultimate off and be useful. Big Baby may make a return with that ultimate. May just make a return. Xing 10 got nerfed, not that hard. Furious Roar. Instead of being able to get it to a low cooldown, it's 14 at all ranks. That's a good change. It's actually pretty significant to him. That combined with, of course, the cooldown item nerfs means it won't be as easy for him to get, that down to a stupidly low cooldown. Hook Slam, reduced damage. Not that much, just a little bit. 5 on the initial, 10 on the secondary, 15 total. Yeah. Sky Cutting Axe, reduced the cooldown from 14, or increased cooldown from 14 to 15. So, all down the road. All down the road, yes. Also, during the stream, this was Furious Road. Furious Road. It was misspelled. And all anybody could think was Roadhouse. And Mad Max. Made me think about Mad Max. Mad Max liked to drive on a furious road with Xing 10. Ymir getting the most important change of any god. He now does not T-pose upon death. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And that is finally the end of our patch notes. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. Thank you to those of you that subscribed to my YouTube channel. Thank you.